Hey everybody, welcome to the Patty G Show. This week we are curled up next to the fire here in the Colonel's Club. We've got cocktails in our hands, we've got food on the table. So come on over, enjoy the club, and also enjoy the show. Before we get there, we're going to do a big wonderful shout out and thanks to the folks that bring me a show each and every week. Folia Real Estate, Lakeman's Health Center, Currency Bank, the bank for business owners, and you know our apparel, brought to you by Jim Teal. Without further ado, enjoy the show.
That is another interesting element that is not often discussed is, are you a bankable entrepreneur? Because people think they're always told, get some buddies, create an LLC, go get a $50,000 line of credit between the three of you, and you can get things off. And it's like, no, banks are going to look at you.
100%. And I mean, where I see it is that you have to be willing to pay more to get financed. And you know, and a great example that you know of obviously is Todd Graves, you know, Dr. Hill and all that. Like Todd will tell you how many times he got turned down. Now he's the richest man in Louisiana, right? Like no one, it's not that people don't like him personally, and it's not that they don't like me personally, but it's like you're not bankable in what you're bringing. And it's not that we don't like your business. It's just that the numbers don't work for what our metrics are, right? And what our guidelines are. So you have to be willing to like take the risk and pay more, and it still hurts and pisses you off, and there's been angry moments, you've known. I mean, but it's like it's the cost of doing business, you know.
It is, and they often think, well, I can just go to the bank,
man,
get a loan, and it's going to be the 5, 6, 7%.
Yeah.
When in reality, if you're going to do private equity financing, you're looking at 10, 15.
Yeah, and you have to accept that, because like for me, it's like I'm willing to accept that. And confident in what I'm doing, knowing that like I'm gonna refinance that after I get open, and I can go to the bank and say, hey, look what I've got. And then they say, oh man, we can cut this note down by X by refinancing it, and you've got the sales to support it, you know, the revenue, the cash flow, like, you know what I'm saying? But when you don't have that, you just gotta take what you get. And I think most people get turned off by that, and they get scared, and you know, like, oh, I'm not paying that, it's crazy. It's like, well, good luck. Yeah, you know.
And I think it's because they're looking at it from the long-term lens of, okay, I've got this debt that is 15% with a 20-year interest only, and then a balloon payment at the end. It's like, no. Get that bridge loan, get open, get operational, and then
refinance it all.
Then the banks will talk to you.
Yes.
Operate
your business. Yeah, do what you say you're going to do. Yeah. Take care of business. Just get open though. Take care of business, and then the ball's in your court.
Yeah, banks don't fund ideas; they fund.
That's right.
They fund businesses and concepts.
That's right.
You know, and you've seen that within several ventures, and having this be your second appearance, totally new concept, totally new venture. How is it that you're now back with something totally new? You're kind of like, you're starting to dabble in the serial entrepreneur world.
Yeah, I definitely think that I have that trait for sure. But I think I just kind of realized, man, you know, COVID opened my eyes a lot. You know, we had Phil's originally with my brother. Then, you know, we parted ways, obviously. And I did Uncle Earl's, and COVID, you know, closed us permanently for 6 months. And then, you know, opened here and there. But it was a tough time. Sales were down $1 million, which is huge for a small business like that.
Huge for any.
Well, yeah, correct. You're right, yeah. But I mean, when you're only doing, you know, 1.8, you're down 70%. It's a big deal. And so, you know, when that happened, I kind of looked kind of bigger picture, right? And I kind of realized, okay, Uncle Earl's is fun and all, but it's not going to give me the lifestyle that I want with the family I want. You know, my family grew. We have 3 kids now, and so didn't have that when I first started, obviously. And so I had to kind of look bigger picture. And for me, I get bored with a monotonous routine of the same thing over and over. So it was important for me to, you know, kind of diversify that portfolio, if you will. And so this opportunity kind of happened randomly. I ran into the former owner of K Street, Calera Street Grill, Brad Watts, one day at lunch. And he just was eating by himself, casually chilling, you know, and ironically, he used to work for my dad back in the day. It was his first job, and so it's how he got in the industry. And we were just catching up casually, briefly. He's like, yeah, I'm going to meet with my landlord. It's time to renew the lease, but I'm about to break the news that I don't want to do it. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, and I didn't think anything of it. And then kind of like, for some reason, it stuck with me. And I was like, man, he's trying to divest, I'm trying to invest, you know. And so I know Building 5 next door has had tremendous success and done really well. I know there's a lot of other businesses neighboring here, Bedar, Duvix, you know, The Merchant, the Julio's, Ivar's, all those are kind of sleeping giants that no one really always remembers, right? But they all do very well. And so for me, it's like, man, this place has opportunity. And so I went and called Brad and was like, through the idea, I was like, hey man, you know, let the guys know that I'd be interested. And he was so interested in getting out of it that he worked the whole deal, like within like a weekend. Like
Really?
he did the whole thing, like start to finish.
Assume my lead.
Yes, like literally, hey, he'll take over. Here's what the rental rate's going to be. Here's the terms. Like
He had negotiations.
he did it all. I mean, he was basically just negotiated on his behalf, and then said, "Oh, but it's going to be Jordan." And the guys had met me years ago when I looked at it before he did, when it was Chelsea's. When we were going to still keep it Chelsea's. And so,
you already had an eye on the spot.
Already had the eye on the spot, yeah. Back in with Rob Daguerpont and Todd Graves, before Dave Rimmeter closed, because we wanted to keep Chelsea's alive, and so we knew the spot was great and the opportunity was great, but it fell through. And David wanted to keep the name because he obviously had dreams to bring it back, and he did on Nicholson. And so I kind of had to evaluate, hey, what is it that this space needs to be? And obviously it's a really unique space. It's two separate spaces in one. The kitchen is in the middle of the building, and so it makes it unique because it allows us to have two almost separate operating businesses, even though they're one. And there's a restaurant on one side and the lounge on the other. And now that I've gotten older, when I opened Uncle Earl's and reopened it in 2019, it was a club. Well, I'm not looking for that anymore. And even myself, I'll go there for special events, but I mean, you have to be in a different mindset to want to go clubbing, right? At this age with 3 kids. And so very, very seldom.
Come out there with
no, they don't come yet. No.
The Earl's
No, not yet. No, my son came Sunday to pick something up with me, and he was looking around all amazed. I was like, it's going to be yours one day, buddy. And he's just like, what are you talking about?
This is in the wheelbarrow.
Yeah, exactly. You have no idea. And so, but then, after kind of thinking about it, man, it's like, we met with the landlord of the building, and he told us the history, because I didn't know. I knew we were going to be a restaurant, and I knew that in my mind I wanted a piano lounge because everyone loves patos in New Orleans.
Yeah, I remember you years ago telling me, man,
that's what we need. Because everyone loves it. And it's like, if you're ever in New Orleans, most people always make a trip by if they're in that area. I know I will, at least. I know a lot of friends that do. But it's a different scene that Baton Rouge doesn't have. It's like, what is Baton Rouge missing? And it's like piano bar, and you've got them at certain restaurants, but they're inside the restaurant. This is its own lounge, right? Yeah. And so that's what was so cool, is that you can make its own feeling and not have to deal with the people eating their meals or worried about being too loud and any of that, because you can't eat over here, or at least not meals. You can eat appetizers. And so when we started meeting with the landlords, we didn't know names or anything like that, but the landlord told us the whole history of the building, man. And it was built in 1936. That's why our logo says established 1936, and their grandfather built the building. And so the family still owns the land from the original guy that built this building, and it's actually used to be a hangar, where a mechanic shop where planes were worked on.
Okay, so hang on, slow it.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
So this was built by a grandfather.
Yeah, Colonel J.L. Shepard, Jesse Lee Shepard.
Jesse Lee Shepard built the building back in 36. And his family still owns it.
Still owns it.
This is like Yellowstone, man.
Crazy, I know.
Property's still in the
And there's so much property around the area that he owned, that his family still owns, and they still have his original house, which I believe is off of Ferndale or Hyacinth, right down the road. They still
nestled up.
He was nestled up in this area. Yes.
Before the Perkins overpass.
Yes. Before the Perkins overpass, before I-10, they have photos they showed us when because when they told us you used to work on planes in here, I'm like, you go outside and you look, you're like, a plane. Yeah, there was nothing but dirt all around here. I mean, literally that whole way. It's before I-10, before the overpass.
So you would take off on Perkins or something?
Take off on Perkins, exactly. Yeah, none of that was there. None of those buildings, ZZ's, all the Julios, all that right there was non-existent. So it's dirt. And so I'm looking at this, and I'm obviously a Baton Rouge, geek. I love Baton Rouge, grew up in it, but just never think about what it used to be that far back. And so I'm like, this building is that old and has that much history. And so as we kept going on about it, he opened the Colonel's Club in the 60s, the grandfather did.
So he just ran an airplane hangar shop.
Man, he changed it.
36 to 60.
Well, no, he changed it. He was Baton Rouge Refrigeration at one point. He did this was a polling precinct as well. They used to vote here. He was a plethora of different, he's kind of like a serial entrepreneur, if you will, like you talking about earlier. And he just had different hobbies and businesses over the years. And so, but it stayed in the family. They've always maintained the building. He's had the businesses. And then I think there came a point, obviously, at when he was still alive, I don't recall exactly, but where they, maintained the building as an owner, but then let someone else operate businesses out of it. And so, so the Colonel's Club came back in the 90s, but it was a different owner.
Got it. So he opened in '60s, had the whole current. And what was it? The look, the feel, the vibe. Did they have pictures they were to show you?
They have some pictures, but not detailed where you get to see a lot of the interior. I mean, like it was upstairs, know that much. So I believe the downstairs was a shop, upstairs, and you entered on this side of the building, which doesn't even exist anymore. If you go in the attic, you can still see the door is still there. They just boarded it up. And so, it was more of a club-esque. They had cards that you had to be a member of that he had to sign each of them.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was really unique, man.
Show your card at the door.
Yep. And the one picture that sticks in my mind is like a round table that he's at with two or three other gentlemen, and it was white tablecloth. And I believe in the photo, I pointed it out, and we don't know if it's 100% accurate, but the Colonel taught Barry Seal how to fly. It's one of the stories, but I'm pretty positive in that photo is Barry Seal. And when I pointed it, because after his grandson told me this, and then he shows me this photo, I'm like, man, that's Barry Seal right there. And he's like, holy cow, you might be right. And at least it's very convincing. It's a good story if it's not, but it actually looks like him.
Does the timeline and the dates line up?
They did. Oh yeah, it lines up. Yeah, 100%. And so I mean, especially knowing he had that relationship with him, right? And so I think it was more of a private club, and members only upstairs, and just kind of very prohibition-esque, if you will. Just kind of like unspoken of, or a true speakeasy, which. One thing I hate about speakeasies is like people try and bring back the speakeasy feeling. I'm like, it's not a speakeasy if you publicize or advertise it's a speakeasy.
Yeah.
Say it like
if you come and have a photo shoot.
yes. And so obviously we weren't bringing that aspect of it back. But we knew there was so much history and great stories to tell here that it had to be the Colonel. Like we left that meeting, Julie and I was like, it's got to be the Colonel's Club.
So beforehand, you had just thought, let's just have a piano bar, and like that was
it was a piano bar inside and a restaurant. And it's like, what type of food do you?
So you had the two.
Yeah, because that's how the space was already divided, right? Yeah. And so it's like, I didn't want to do live music like Chelsea's used to do. That's not my forte. Like you have to be into who's the hot band, who's up and coming, and doing all that. And I don't enjoy that part, right? And so I knew that wasn't going to be it for me over here. And I didn't want to compete with Earl's, right? I wanted to be really good synergy to Building 5, to Julio's, and other restaurants in the area. And so restaurant, on that side was obvious. And the one thing everyone asked, when the beginning is like, describe the food. And I was like, it won't be seafood. Because obviously it Phil's Oyster Bar, my brother.
Will there be oyster?
Yes, and I was like, there's not an oyster in the building. Like our chef talked about bringing it in there. I was like, man, I won't tell you no ever, but you can never bring an oyster in this building. And not that my brother would care, but I'm just like, I'm not trying to confuse people that like there's any type of competition here, because there's obviously not. And I also think that it's oversaturated in Baton Rouge anyway. I mean, you got so many seafood restaurants. I mean, just right here you got Powerants, Acme, and the Phil's. Just in a half-mile radius. Yeah, and so that's bam, bam, bam. Right, and so, I mean, we've got scallops, obviously, and we have fish and lobster bisque, but seafood, fried seafood restaurant is not what we're going after.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think there's any fried seafood on the menu at all.
There's not, intentionally,
Yeah, so you've got it's a different culinary vibe. Overall than...
Man, it's unique how we did it. So, I always knew, too, I'd learned from my dad, like, from actually working with him, that my dad had Phil's for 32 years. Phil's was open for over 50. But they never had a chef because it was always his parents and his sister helping. And so it wasn't until 2003 when he was moving from Government to College Drive that they hired their first chef. So it was his first dealing with a chef on his payroll. And chefs can be tricky, man. Like they're artists, and they have to. And they're a lot like me in that they get bored with the monotony, right? They get bored with the same menu every day over and over, and you have to get them the canvas and the freedom to do, be artists and do what they want to do. And Phil's wasn't that. And so I knew for this concept from that experience that we wanted a chef here, but we didn't want the menu to be the chef's menu. We wanted it to be the Colonel's Club menu, so that no matter who we might hire, and how long they stay, that the menu is going to be consistent. But what will change is the specials and what they bring. And so, in our menu creation, man, it was actually several brainstorm meetings with myself, Julie Payro, our spouses, our former general manager at the time, and then we hired a consultant, Jonathan Bro, who used to do like Ben 77, Solera, different places in town, who's now one of our food purveyors. He was with us, and we kind of started off like, what do we like to eat? Like, what are our favorites when we go to these different restaurants in town? And all of us like to eat all kinds of food. I mean, I'm a big Greek and Lebanese guy. I love Italian. I love Indian, And so we kind of all just made a list of things we like, our hottest items at different restaurants, and put it on a whiteboard. And then we would kind of just go through that over the weeks and kind of talk them through one by one and get pros and cons and kind of see what stuck, and then how we could make our twist on it. And so the menu actually came out, I think, pretty phenomenal. Like how that exercise worked unexpectedly great. Yeah, because we were bringing different types of food in, and most people are like, "What? Give me the type of food you have, the cuisine." It's like it's not a one type of cuisine place. You can get a little flavor of different things, which you don't find often, right? But we thought that was important, and then Chef Tickensage came in and just put his.
It was phenomenal, Bob.
He's the greatest. Yeah, he put his spinning touch on it, and he does all the specials, and I think it actually made it easier on him that he had a set menu. All he had to do was make them better and keep that up, and then he can do whatever else he wants for specials, which is allowing him to have his canvas. And I never tell him no. I mean, it's like he's yet to bring me something that I'm like, this is not one of the best things I've ever had,
Welcome to the brand new Falaya mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Falaya mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falaya in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falaya, it's real estate reimagined.
And so I think Baton Rouge has a lot of restaurants, but sometimes we lose sight of like the culinary part of it, right? And the artistic side of it. And so we were excited when we got him on board, that he was going to bring that to the table.
Yeah, I think we've got some artistic dishes we can actually display right now.
Yeah.
I think also, earlier you mentioned about the cocktails, which we'll bring out. I think we got, yeah, let's do cocktails. Let's do it.
Yeah, man.
Why not?
Man, the cocktails are really superb. We hired a consultant on that because everyone thinks, oh, you own Uncle Earl's, you know all about drinks. And it's like, nah, man, like the craft cocktail space is a completely different.
So
Thank you so much.
It's the chef's old fashioned.
All right.
And then we have a fruit caviar on the side, and I like to tell people to put the caviar in the drink so that way it infuses the caviar.
Ah.
And then at the end, you eat it. Tastes better.
Okay.
Oh, it's like dip it in.
You gotta like set the whole.
Yeah, you set it in, but then pull it back out. Oh, leave it in there. Got it.
And then finish it.
Oh, it won't melt. I got you. Yeah.
Like how you eat the cherry.
Yeah.
After.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we don't have a cherry in ours, and I would like.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
I noticed that there was no cherry.
And it's intentional, and not to hold her up, but like I remember one time when I got it, I said, "Hey, this is wrong," and I could never see it before. I was like, "There's no, I'm not a connoisseur, but old fashions have cherries."
Right.
And the lady that designed them was just like, "Not ours," and I was like, "Okay, I'm sorry, guys, stand corrected."
Yeah.
So
now you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's yours, and what do we have here?
And then this is the fiery mark. And this one you light on fire.
Okay.
It's like a little sugar. And then you sprinkle it with sugar.
little cinnamon, yeah.
And then, so the margarita is infused with ginger agave, and then the cinnamon adds a little touch on top.
I'd have to sign a waiver for this drink.
No, but I suggest you let the fire before you start drinking.
That's a great point. We might need to start adding that. Sign this before you drink that, please.
Sign the
I
waiver
did see on
before
the
it goes
news
out.
that there was somebody that caught on fire because their drink was on fire. Like
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Not here, not a Colonel.
Yeah, not the Colonel's Club.
No, not the Colonel.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
A lot of people get confused with the fiery marg, thinking that it's spicy.
You literally mean
it's fire, yes, and it's actually like one of the better margaritas you're gonna have. Like, and look, like who doesn't love Superior margarita, right? That's like my favorite margarita.
Right.
But I like a fresh margarita, and they have them too. But like their common ones are just kind of batched, obviously.
On the rocks with a little bit of.
I'm a rocks guy.
Flavor.
Yes,
All right,
100%.
Well, Jordan.
Yeah, cheers, man. I'll put my little caviar bump in here, like she said.
Caviar bump in here. Make sure
Never done that.
We're totally extinguished.
Yeah. And one thing, like I said, Anna, we hired a lady.
That's good.
Sorry to tell you.
That's great.
New favorite, huh?
That's my new favorite now.
Yeah.
That's the new drink.
It's a good one. This is my go-to, and it's, I get rolling once I start them. But Anna Bowling is a lady in town who's a good friend of ours, actually. But she used to be one of our liquor reps, and now she works for Sugarfield Distillery here in Gonzales. And so she's a rep for them, but she's got such a great vision, I guess, with drinks. And so she started working with our former general manager, Shannon, like a year ago on drinks, and put together just this kick-ass drink menu. And she incorporated the story. Like, there's some things that I didn't know about till like a couple weeks ago. Like, one of our drinks is called the Berry Seal, as I told you earlier, because the Colonel taught Bear how to fly. Well, on the side of it,
was that aiding and abetting?
Chris, great question. Who cares?
Doesn't matter now.
But then on the side of it, they add on the drink, and I'd never noticed this. They add powdered sugar, and it's a nod to his movement of cocaine. Which is pretty cool that she thought that through. Those little details. And so our cocktail menu, man, is like also like high-end liquors. Like, we're not doing I'm a big proponent of not using like the well brands. Like, we don't have any well brands in any of our Uncle Earl's or here. Like, it's just not, even East Schlitz and Giggles. Like, anything that I'm touching, I don't believe in the $4 bottle of vodka or $4 bottle of bourbon that you put in the well, because it's just trash, man. Like, I think customers would rather pay $1 more and get a much better quality, liquor. And so one thing Anna did without me prefacing that is all the liquor she uses are high-end liquors. And so like this is made with Jefferson's aged at the ocean, right? Which is like typically in a drink menu, you're not seeing high-end typically on all of them, right? But ours are like all high-end. Like our espresso martini is Absolute Elix, which is their absolute's highest, and it's actually really good. And everyone always wants Tito's, man, and it drives me crazy because like Tito's is like what I tell people all the time. They've changed the category from vodka to Tito's. So that's all that needs to happen, because what they really say when they want a Tito's is that they want a vodka. They don't really necessarily want the Tito's, because if you do vodkas lined up, like, you're gonna not pick Tito's every time if I give you a line of 3 or 4, right? Because it's not phenomenal. But you understand, people gotta give them what they want. But all that being said, I just find it funny because like we'll blow through Tito's at any of the places, but it's not like I get upset about it. I'm like, man, like, you really want vodka? Get a good vodka. They're like, no, Tito's it is. And so, but we've got some great brands all around on the liquor menu.
Well, and that's what they expect when they come here, right? They're not expecting to go, hey, can I get your Red Bull and vodka type of vodka.
I talked to the staff about bringing Red Bull in, or talked to the managers, and they're like, no, we don't need Red Bull here. And I'm like they were offended that I even offered it. And I'm like, I'm sorry. They're like, this
to change my mold.
Yeah, they're like this is the mold. Yeah, this is not the place for that. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I thought y'all wanted it, and so I just assumed, right?
Right.
But it's not. No one's asking for that, which is interesting.
If somebody's going to order a cocktail, they want something like this here.
Yeah.
That's the vibe that's been created here. It's not just give me a bunch of Red Bull vodka.
That's right.
Yeah. I want a craft cocktail that has that flame to it, that has that caffeine inside, that next level. That when you sit down and drink it, you are imbibing in the ambiance that's created within the Colonel.
That's correct.
And that's exactly what's here. It's not, you're not going to come here with a big group of friends and say, let's go clubbing. It's like,
100%.
No, you and the wife just realized your dinner went by too quick and you have another hour of babysitter.
Yeah.
Or business dinner, business lunch.
That's literally what it's like.
Totally different vibe.
Correct. And even there's a different vibe on the restaurant and the lounge. They're completely separate vibes, right? 100%. Like, and you've experienced them both. I mean, over here is you want to have conversation, you want to relax. Over there's a little brighter, a little more, intimate for dinner, and kind of just different scene, a little more, lively in a different way. Mm-hmm. This side's just more like timeless, like you get over here, and like the part of the problem that we've had is that or I've had at least working here, is that like the day will fly by. Like, I'll be over here and like the day's over because there's no windows on this side, and so like I don't see sunlight, and so and the music's going, and you're just like, and I'm just working, I'm not even drinking or anything, and so, but hours and hours go by, and we find that a lot with customers. But this is exactly like this feeling. The fireplace, man. We worked with Chris Ferrari for our development. He was the one that I brought in first, and was like, because he's helped me at all the places, like just with vision, because he's great at being at that. And so I asked him, I was like, hey man, here's what I'm thinking. What's the look, and that's when he was like, I got it. And so this was designed after the Bowery Hotel in New York, which I haven't been to yet, which I should probably make a trip out there. And the bar over here was designed after the Waverly Inn, because Chris is from Baton Rouge, but he lived in New York for 3 or 4 years. And so those were some of his favorite places. And when I tell you, man, like it from the photos I've seen, we ended up having to bring a design team on, an architect firm, because it was way more than we ever expected. In fact, Chris always says, "Man, this is nicer than I thought it would be, or I meant for it to be," and I always curse him out because I'm like, "You're the reason we're in this," and so
you're the reason it became.
Yes, you're the reason we went way over budget, and so. But this fireplace was actually, like, ironically, randomly, we're calling the fireplace casting company, and we said, "Hey, there's one in New York at this hotel we love." That we were trying to get something similar. We're like, "Oh, what hotel?" We're like, the Bowery. We're like, "Oh, we did theirs." And this is like the exact one that they picked as well, which is pretty cool. And so yeah, so to answer your question earlier, like that was the exact intent, was like the friends and family and the wife at dinner, like after dinner, it was selfishly wanting a place like that I'm proud to go, but it's not crazy wild, but we can sit and have a drink, nibble if we want dessert, like whatever it might be, but it's not like rowdy, it's calm. And that's like, when I start thinking about it, like there's not many places at Baton Rouge that have that, sadly. Like I wish there were more. Like there's great bars, there's not a lot of spots to go sit and chill and then hear good music that's not your jam or your your rap or your country or like loud blaring music. It's just a pianist who's singing like a lot. And I think there's something about the live music aspect that really gets people going too, because it's incredible. I mean, it's incredible to hear some of these covers that they sing. I don't know, it just gives you in the feels, if you will.
It totally sets the room for the night that you're expecting to have. Like you walk in and you kind of got this like relaxation mode, because it is not everybody's so it's not funk.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term, it's not.
Yeah.
You've got this atmosphere that's been carefully curated to make people want to come and just sit down and enjoy themselves. And if nothing, just listen to the pianist in the background.
Yeah.
Play his music.
That's exactly right.
Which I got you one on rotation now.
Yeah.
You want him to sing and play?
That's what he told me. Yeah. I'm can't wait. I'm looking forward to that.
So now we've got to, continue sipping on this.
Yes.
Let's look at some of this food that has been crafted by
Chef David. Absolutely.
Good friend David, who is no stranger to the Patty G show. Go back in the archives, and we actually done some stuff with him. Let's start with whoever he's got. Sure.
All right, guys. So you got the chicken and kimchi gyozas with the black garlic umami sauce.
Yeah, perfect.
And then I feel like me and Jordan have talked multiple times about seafood, so we don't want to do what other people are doing. So these are actually Alaskan king crab cakes. So it's not local crab meat; it's from Alaska. I feel like we're the only people in town doing that. It has a jalapeno remoulade sauce on top and our kernel sauce on the bottom. We try to bring like global cuisine together, like Jordan talked about. When I came in, there was like a standard of a menu that was there. Always said, "Hey, can we make it a little bit better and plate it, make it pretty?" And since I've been here, we've done a lot of specials. We've added some new things to the menu. But at the end of the day, we're trying to make a place that's super approachable. Right. It's not about a culinary destination, but about a destination that everybody can experience. And I think that when you're a culinary destination, then you kind of push off the people that aren't really foodies.
That's right.
They don't really want to go there every day. So, if you can get a smash burger day and night, but then all of a sudden you get a, lamb shank with harissa demi, like who's doing that?
Yep.
So I feel that's more challenging than like being super creative.
No, I would agree. And
let me grab the other couple things real quick.
Great. Awesome.
So this looks phenomenal.
Man, his crab cakes, he told me that they're the best in town, and I was like, well, I've heard that before. I've had a lot of crab cakes in my time, man, but they really are. They're incredible. And his, gyoza, man, like everyone that's had it, like it's now on the menu. That's like, this was a special dish he made, but it's so good, and everyone loved it so much that we had to put it on there.
Well, that's what happens to some of the best dishes. They start off as specials, they end up on the menu.
That's right. That's right.
So this is quickly becoming a food sensation show, man. I'm not complaining at all. Absolutely.
So I think what you
come over this way and give us a little squat.
So I think what you're going to see, which is really cool, is right in front of you kind of is everything that we've talked about. It's like a trip around the world, right, in reality. So you have Italian, right? You have Japanese, you have Lebanese, and then you have Southern, but using an Alaskan product.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's all about like travel and seeing the world, but like done a very simple way. sophisticated, but not over the top. You know, at the end of the day, there's nothing that's like avant-garde. We don't have smoke, we have no mirrors, we don't have, you know, molecular. We have Southern food that people understand, but like takes them on a trip that's whimsical, fun, creative. So this is our whipped ricotta. I think that we have the best whipped ricotta, like outside of Alon Shaya, which I will go toe to toe with him if he wants to, but he'll probably win, but we'll see. We do it in house. It has like truffle powder, hot honey, saffron, a lot of different ingredients. We can't tell you because then I have to give you the recipe. And I won't do that. One of our number one things I feel like is our meatballs. So we do like a real Italian meatball. It has guanciale, pork belly, bacon, and mortadella. So it's 60% pork, 40% beef, but there's no breadcrumbs inside of it because we puree all the pork. It becomes like a sausage, and the beef becomes the outliner, and then our tomato brodo with our garlic bread, and of course, we talked about the crab cake. So at the end of the day, these are just small plates that you can get in the bar, which I think is very unique. When Jordan hired me, one of the things that I've always wanted to do is actually open the same type of concept that he's doing. Is I thought that, you know, Baton Rouge missed that. So I was a chef in New York and Chicago, and I would just love to go to places where you could be at two places at one time. And Baton Rouge has never had that. And so when Jordan and I talked about this whole concept, I said, I'm in. You know, I didn't know, like, I was going to walk in and see this. Like, every day I walk in here, and I'm still amazed at what I look at every day. And to me, that says a lot. Like, it's so comforting, but at the end of the day, you're not in Baton Rouge, and I think that's what people want to share, is that be somewhere they're not used to being all the time. So, y'all enjoy y'all's food.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Here you go, sir.
Thank you. And you know, the meatballs are another item that were kind of contentious in the beginning too, because obviously Phil's has meatballs. You know, my family has Italian lineage.
Really?
Yeah, you don't say, right?
No idea.
And so, you know, my Phil's has really good meatballs. My grandmother's recipe is phenomenal, but it's a completely different type of meatball. Hers has breadcrumbs, like he said. His doesn't. Her red gravy is much sweeter than this one. So after tasting this, I was like, okay, we can put it on the menu.
Yeah, it's different enough.
Different enough, yeah. But it's like we're not even trying, right? Because my fear is people will be like, oh, he's got the same meatballs Phil's does, but obviously we don't. But I think it is cool to, you know, it tastes around the world, like he said, is you know, it's something you don't see everywhere.
This episode of the Patty G Show is sponsored by Genteel Apparel. Genteel Apparel is our newest clothing outfitter. We've got a great partnership with them. Head on over to the website, pattygshow.com/sponsors to learn a little bit more about them, and there's a little treat there for you when you get there. Again, this episode is brought to you by Genteel Apparel.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's dig into this whipped ricotta. I love Chef David's explanation of like taking you around the world. I don't know if it was intentional, but the fact that it was an airplane shot, right?
Oh yeah,
the travel.
It was definitely intentional. Yeah. And
picked up on it.
And the designers did the same thing, right? Like when you go through the dining room, pretty good, huh? There, you know, like that. There's a whole lot going on, but you know the light fixtures in the front are kind of like oriental looking, you know. There's a room in the back that's like kind of designed after a train car, and so the whole idea was that the story we told him was that we wanted this to be the Colonel's travel around the world, even though he didn't fly around the world, but his travels and all the things he and his wife might have collected or things that they liked and saw, and kind of bringing that back here, if you will. And so that's why you see different themes as kind of you go throughout, which is pretty cool.
Well, and that's what I like, the different layers baked into the overall concept. Right, so you've got different rooms that kind of have different meanings, where you've got curtains that you can close off and privatize different areas of the restaurant, where it becomes like your own little space. And then to your point about hours flying by, I'm sure when you get out, you're like, whoa, we've been here for how long? You know, but it's all in that you want to stay here. You know, so much of the hospitality industry, the way that they make their quick buck is
turning tables,
get you in and out and turning tables. But here you've almost kind of been the opposite, where it's like, let's slow you down, let's draw you in.
That's right.
Feel the vibe, feel the story we've created, and let that energy just take over you. And you're going to look up and be like, we've been here for 4 hours. Like, I don't think I've been here, and I've been here multiple times, one of them with just my wife and I, and we haven't left in less than like 2-3 hours. And that's not to talk about the service.
Right.
taking that
Yeah,
long.
yeah.
It was, we didn't want to.
Well, and that's that was actually one of the challenges that we didn't foresee necessarily.
You didn't think people would stay.
Well, we just figured it would be like everywhere else. You'd stay for an hour and a half, 2 hours, right? And so the first couple weeks we were open, the reservation system is new for me. I'm not, used to working on reservations primarily. And so we'd see people come and stay for 3.5 hours, and we'd have a booking at 5 and the next one at 8, or next, 7:30, and they're not done. And it's like, customers get upset. Like there's not they don't really care.
Had a reservation.
Yeah, I had a reservation, and that meant that time. And they really aren't very. Some of them are lenient, some understand, but some of them don't. And when they don't, it's tough to fix that. So we had to adjust our pacing, if you will. And that other challenge of that is when people come in, because you don't have to have a reservation to come here. Right now we recommend it, but you don't have to. But people come in and we're like, oh, sorry, we're booked. And then they'll look at the tables and they see they're all open, or not all open, but vast majority. And we're like, I hear you. You're right. They're vacant at the moment, but they're actually all accounted for by
in the next 10 minutes.
Yes,
all gonna be
next 30 minutes, they're all going to be full. And it's really, truly an art, and it's a puzzle that I'm not good at. In fact, I have to call Julie or Brad, and I'm like, hey, I think we can make this work, but I don't know how you're going to do that. So can we do it? Here's the people, here's the time. And they're able to make it come to fruition. But it's an art, man, that I think a lot of people don't realize, And same with service, speed of service, right? Like this isn't reopening opening another location. This was brand new, all this. So the food was new, the preparation of the food, the drinks, the cocktail menu, the execution, all that was brand new to us. And so when you're by yourself and you're able to, do it quickly or produce it the way it's supposed to be, it's great. But when you do that with, a restaurant that's got 200 people over there and you got 100 people over here, and people have expectations that it should be quick, it's challenging. And so it's one of the things we had to kind of really work on is speed of service, and I can appreciate a customer's lack of patience, because it's like, hey, we don't care that you just open. Some of them, right? Like, we don't care you just open. We don't care what the excuse is. We're paying a nice penny. We expect what we expect, and I believe that to be true. And that's kind of one of our common things we're working on, is how do we improve the guest experience, and how do we make sure that we're meeting their expectations, even if we didn't intend for those to be the expectations. People walk in and see the space, so now they have this predetermined expectation that we've never communicated with each other, and we're supposed to understand what that is. And so now we're getting feedback, and we have to make adjustments to offset that, if you will.
So have y'all bumped back the reservation windows?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For that?
Absolutely. Yep. And we've also saved some for we booked some tables on busy weekends for random people walk-ins or people we got to take care of, or special VIP people like yourself that we got to work in there. There's those type of things you have to think of, right? And so we definitely have changed the pacing. And also the biggest thing is, we're like, more people. That more volume. We want everyone to have a great experience, and that's what was happening. It was just backing the bar up, and they couldn't get these especially cocktails. Even if you batch them, they're not fully batched, right? Most of it, but you were adding liquor at the end, and we're adding other ingredients, and so they still take time to make. And so, the kind of rule of thumb now is like no more than 10 people per 15 minutes. But before, we were probably sitting 20 to 30. And so
you have to.
Yeah, it would completely change the guest experience, man. Because it wasn't only bad for the customers, it was horrible for the staff. They weren't enjoying that, and we don't want that. We'd rather do, like you said, keep people here longer, drinking more, eating more, doing that, than flipping tables. And we'd rather the experience, enjoy it, embrace it, take it in, and really be something neat and different, opposed to feeling like, hey, we got to get you in and get you out. Because
100%.
Yeah.
It's not designed to be that. You have a venue that's been designed to attract and entertain people. Whereas most of the time, people will go to a restaurant and they'll sit down and they'll say, great, I'm here for dinner, and then I'm gone.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's, I'm going to show up a little bit early. I'm going to get a pre-dinner cocktail at the bar, listen to the piano. Then I'm going to go have dinner, and then once we're done with dinner,
I'm going to come back over here.
Circle back
Yes.
over by the bar.
Yeah.
And you have that luxury, being the two different unique but one spaces, to give people that type of, your table's running a little late, but go on the bar, hang out for 10, 15 minutes.
That's right.
Have your table ready.
And I think that it helps that we have a separate space, because like if it was just like, oh, go hang out at our bar, like the restaurant bar,
Right, like a restaurant bar, it's in the middle of the restaurant. You're
like
sitting there, you're like
everywhere,
looking at people, you're like, you're
yeah,
almost done.
yeah, that's my table, exactly.
Pay your tab. Let's
Yeah,
go.
but you're over here, it's like they get lost and they forget, and you know, we've had some people, oh, never mind, I'm just gonna hang out over here and get small plates, because you can get small plates and desserts and appetizers over here. Like, oh, we're just gonna eat over here, cancel our table.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool to see how that work. But yeah, there are people that like show up, and like 2 weeks ago, like the reservation was at 8 and they showed up at 6 and partied over here for 2 hours. And I'm like, loved every minute. Yeah, and it was just I love the commitment, you know.
I was in that crowd. One of the first 2 times I was here, I showed up for like 6 o'clock reservations. I think y'all came at like 7:15, and you're like, okay,
Yeah,
we do have.
yeah. Well, there's a time here, man.
We do need
yeah,
to get y'all
yeah.
sat at
Yeah,
some point.
or someone's gonna just take it, you know.
Right. So, but that was the beauty of it. You've created a space that people don't want to leave.
Yeah, amen.
You know? And every drink, everything that you got is such a story behind it that it's like, where's the book? You know,
Absolutely.
Where's the Colonel Club book that you?
The story is in the making,
Right. You know?
because there is so much, man.
Oh my God.
That's what I was telling Julie. I'm like, Julie, how do you put that on the back of a little menu, like, or a little, like, how do you summarize that in a little paragraph? Like, you can't capture all the cool, and then when you know the story and the details, everything starts to make more sense. It all comes together. It's like you said, you picked up on it. I don't know if it was intentional, but it was like his travels, like that. It was intentional. Like, and it makes it that much more, you know, awesome, right? Because the idea was to feel like it was collected, that everything was gathered and kept over the years, you know, and that's why some of the furniture things that the designers picked out, you know, I would have never gone with, and I think everyone asked, like, you know, or everyone compliments how great things are, and my firm belief is that I let everyone stay in their own lane. You know, I let the designers do their deal. We did our deal. And most of the time, I believe, and in the past, myself included, I would get too ingrained and too involved in the details of the things that aren't my expertise. Like operations and you know, the concept, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. But the design, I'm supposed to have an input and kind of guiding them. But as far as like picking out the details, I shouldn't get in, right? And we get caught up with that, and then it turns out not to be great because we voice our opinion. And I think that's what made this so great is everyone stay in their lane, and we let the designers do the things, and they're not used to that. They're used, by the way, they told us that they're used to customers that are like nitpicking everything, and when we didn't do that, I think that's what created such a great product because the experts all did what they were supposed to do.
And that's where oftentimes entrepreneurs just getting started fall short, is they feel like they have to be in the details, they have to be in the weeds. If you put that chair a half inch off, you know, it's like that reel that people see where it's like you're doing everything wrong. The person turns it like this, and it's like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, no, you hired people. Trust those people that you've hired to do the job you're paying them to do.
That's right.
And just say, here's the vision, here's the overall theme that I want to go after. Send me your thoughts.
Yeah.
But no, you as the owner should not be sitting there thinking, okay, I want that fabric swatch on the chairs.
Yeah.
You know, I want those tables. Like, you know, you say, hey, we want to fit this number of people in the restaurant. We want it to be enough to where it's cozy but not crowded.
Yeah.
And however you can design a space to do that, go for it and get out the way.
Thank you so very much to Currency Bank, a proud sponsor of the Patty G Show. If you are looking for a business bank that fosters on 3 core values, relationships, service, and technology, Currency Bank is the place for you. They pride themselves on convenient, accessible, and secure online banking resources where you can manage your account balances, initiate transfers, enroll with e-statements, and more via their online portal. Between the relationships, the service, and the technology, they are going to be that partner with your business every step of the way, regardless of what you need. Currency Bank is the bank for business owners.
Man, 8 years ago when we did Phil's, like I was in the details, like down to the detail. And I think Phil's turned out great because it was bringing back a specific concept, a specific look. Yes. However, in this go round, I was like the exact opposite. I'm like, I don't even want to see the swatches. Just buy it.
I want to do extreme makeover.
Yes, 100%. Like if it fits the budget, great. Just do your thing. And then there was I always joke. There's some chairs over there that are a knockoff of some fabric that that is world renowned evidently, and it's something I would have never chosen. Like in fact, if they would have shown me, I would have canceled it, right? Yeah. Just because they didn't speak anything to me. I think it's ugly. And another designer came in on a pre-open, and she's like, these chairs are marvelous, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay. And they're like, this fabric is very well known, and like she didn't know it was a knockoff, but I'm like, it is, and like I'm like, wow, right? And then I'm like, damn, they're good. You know, they did a really good job with it.
Yeah.
And so, because the details matter.
The details matter, but as the owner, you can't always get bogged down in the
Yeah.
details because you've got to make sure the machine as a whole. You're dealing with other details.
Mhm.
You know, if your biggest problem of the day is a fabric swatch,
I got major problems.
like
Yeah.
what kind of day are you having?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
I want to dig in.
Yeah, dig in, man.
Alaskan crab cakes. So was anything in here of the original?
The original from the 30s?
60s when the first Colonel's Club.
I'm sorry, yeah, 60s. There's a few things like in the bookshelves that we have over here. Like there's a block of the on the shelf over there that they took out, like a glass block that was the front entrance. And there's some small memorabilia stuff that like matchbooks and things along those lines. But no, there's not a whole lot, because it changed so many times, right? So all we could get was what the family had collected, which they did. He did a great job keeping on to it.
Were they like, hey, here's what we had?
Oh yeah. Well, it was only one of the grandsons. Yeah, I don't know if the other ones have their own stash, but I don't think they do. But one is really big into keeping it all and collecting it. And so he brought us over and just kind of showed us everything. He's got these great maps that we made copies of that just kind of like show the whole area before and kind of as it progressed. And it's just so. And that's what, like I said, when you heard the story and saw the photos, it was like, this is what it has to be.
So
the story has to be told.
The story has to be told, and on the lines of the story that's on everybody's mind that keeps staring at me this entire episode is the dog.
The dog.
What's the dog, man? What's the story behind
Yeah.
the dog?
So the Colonel was known. He had had several dogs. I forget their names. There was 3 or 4 that he had in his grandsons' lives. But he was notorious for flying with them and bringing them everywhere he goes.
Okay.
And so I do the same thing with my dog. Obviously, not the same breed, but whenever he told us that story, and I think he showed us a picture and we saw the dog in the plane with him because he'd fly with them and all. We're like, it's got to be, the Doberman. It's got to be in what we do, right? It's got to be the mascot, if you will. But it's just kind of paying homage to the Colonel himself, right? And what he loved. And he loved his dogs. And so the fact that his dog was always with him, we just thought that it was a cool kind of symbol to symbolize what he loved and what he appreciated in life.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It keeps on going down the trail of history, man.
And the same dogs. Like I said, he didn't switch breeds. Same breed every time, a Doberman every time.
Yeah, we know somebody like that.
Yeah, we do, yes. But his wasn't for his business, right? It was just his love for the...
It was just his love, and now it's for your business.
And so 225 came recently and did a photo shoot a couple weeks ago.
Please tell me you had a Doberman.
They brought a Doberman in. Yes, they brought a Doberman in from Franklin Dobermans, I believe is the name of the company, a guy that breeds them. And they put some chains on them, like some gold chain, and it was a really cool photo, right in front of the fireplace right here. And the dog was beautiful, and it was really cool. It's like kind of like, man, we might need to get a couple of those, leave them out around here,
Doberman's walking.
Yeah, table, exactly. Yes.
Train them to bring the drinks.
Yes, that would be great.
Torch, like
yeah.
Get them to do something.
Yeah, we'll give them to do something.
So this is phenomenal, by the way.
Awesome.
I'm gonna try
Yeah, try it, man.
man.
Heat it up.
Okay. So, in going through the menu and everybody providing their input, how much of it was we have to focus on a menu to draw people in? Like, what was the cart and the horse? Was it the vibe with good food, or was it food with good vibes?
Great question. But I would say it was this side. It was great vibe. That side was great food, right? Because Baton Rouge is tough, man. There's a lot of critics here, right? I also think there's some people in Baton Rouge that pretty good, isn't it?
Dude, it's so good.
I also think Baton Rouge thinks they want a certain level, a caliber of food,
yes,
and they don't necessarily do, right? Like they go to these places and they have them, and then when someone here tries to bring the same caliber, and it might be equally as good, because they're in the area that doesn't feel the same, it's not as good, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's been a challenge, but for us, it was like, there's so many people and patrons in the area and stuff, this neighborhood and all that we'll get them in. The space has got to be cool and different because no one wants to just put lipstick on a pig, right? Like it's been places over the years, if it looks the same, that doesn't really wow people. So it's got to look different, but the food's got to match it. And so for us, it was like making sure that those levels were on par with one another. And like I said, over there, the food's more important. There's great ambiance, but the food is the most important over there. Over here, it's the ambiance, and the food's not as important. The drinks are most important, but over here, I think the vibe is everything.
Well, it's you kind of alluded to it with people that go and visit places and then come back and say, man, I love that dish that was there. But then when they try to have it here, they're like, it's just not right. It's not the same.
That's right.
Because so much about food, whenever we eat it,
is where you're eating it.
Where we're eating it, the atmosphere around us, and the people that are with us, and what type of feeling we have whenever we eat that food sticks with us far more than
totally agree.
That flavor was nailed down perfectly. It's like, no, everything had it working.
That's right.
And so it's like the Colonel's Club has created just that perfect picture of you can come here, get that experience, get that ambiance, and then also have food to match it. Where you're like, now when you think of something, or you're traveling and you come to Baton Rouge and you stay and you come and eat at Colonel's Club, you leave and go, man, I want to find a place like Colonel's Club back home.
That's right.
And so now you kind of almost created this staple under the overpass of we're a spot that people will look at and think, Baton Rouge has something. They've got something really cool.
That's the goal, man. We want to inspire other entrepreneurs and business people to do the same. Like, we've seen time and time again, people just take over places that have closed or moved on or whatever, and they don't do anything special. And it's kind of frustrating because it's like everyone always says they want to go to move their places or they want to travel because, we don't have these things. It's like, as business leaders, it's our job to make sure we bring that to fruition, right? And so a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people take the less expensive route. And look, that's the easier, safer, as we were talking about earlier, it's the safer route, is to spend less money. But if you really want to do it right and really want to wow people, that's what other people are doing in other cities. They're making the larger investment and doing it different. And I think that's what, like here, people want to see something different. And I think that's what this is. And this is, kind of like Building 5 was the same way for the cuisine. Like, it was different. That building has been there all this time, right? And no one even knew it was there next door. And they added to it and they fixed it up and they brought this great restaurant with great food. And now it's gangbusters. Everyone loves it. And people appreciate it.
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out. Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
And so that's the same thing we were thinking here, is that we want to deliver something that people appreciate and hope that other people get inspired by it. The designer told us it was pretty funny. They've gotten a couple calls. We were real big on letting everyone know who did the work here. I mean, Teak by Day did a great job.
Which is as it should be.
Yes. We're proud of it. That's why we're telling everybody.
We as a community have to start tooting the horns of others.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get one on your box and say, no, we built it, this is our thing. Like,
yeah.
Why shield the folks that helped you?
100%. Not only that, yeah, exactly. Like, people worry that, if I share that person, they're going to use them for another concept that's going to be better than mine. It's like, man, it's small-minded. It's very small-minded. And so, I tell everybody, there's only one we worked with, right? But they knocked it out of the park. I mean, from the designing, the architectural, the plans, everything they did was great. And so, and you see that, right? And so it's funny that they were telling me that somebody called them, another business person in town that has some restaurants, and they were like, yeah, we love what you did at the Colonel's Club, but we don't need anything that fancy, and it's like, and I understand they were saying is their concept's not that we're fancy, but it's like, man,
you're elevated.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with it. You can be elevated and still be casual, right? But that's what a lot of that energy is they don't want to make the investment, sadly, and that's why when places like these come around, it's so oh my God, this is and it's and while that's awesome, it's I wish there were a dozen more so that there was just all that many unique more places to go, and so unfortunately we're not there yet.
But you're kicking it off.
Hopefully to start it.
you're showing people that it can be done.
Yeah, it can be done, and it can be done locally. That's like the first few people came through, like, where are they out of? Texas, New York, Chicago, and I'm like, they're on Government Street in Baton Rouge, and they went to Catholic high school in St. Joseph's, and like I've known them my whole life, like, or since we were kids, like people are like, no way, someone here did that? And I'm like, yes, like we have that talent here, and that's what's like so stunning is that people don't realize there's so much talent in Baton Rouge.
And also, if you have that talent, there's a place for you.
Yeah,
people want it.
Mm-hmm.
Business owners
100%.
want something like it because they know you've grown up around here. You've got a feel for what makes Baton Rouge so lovable, even though we want to hate it and kill it every day.
Yeah,
there's still this element that brings us back.
Absolutely.
And by being born, raised here, and having that talent stay, you can create concepts like this time and time again.
Totally agree.
So we're going to keep on eating this.
Keep eating.
But before we get out and wrap everything up, we do have a set list of questions we ask every guest on the show.
Okay.
So we'll have to do maybe a mirror image of his time a couple years ago and his answers now.
Uh-oh.
So the first one is, what is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Man, that's a great question. Something I did as a kid that I wish I could still do today. Oh, man. I would say probably just live carelessly, like not have a worry in the world. Like it's great being young and like not having to pay bills, right? And just like enjoying life and like not living in reality per se, right? But there was also, on top of that, it was like spending time with my dad. I would say, that was definitely something. I spent a lot of time with my dad as a kid, and that's how I got this love. I mean, everyone that ever knew my family knew that Jordan was going to be in the restaurant business one day because it was in his DNA. I mean, I was 10 years old working the register, working the customers, and it's just in my DNA, whereas my other siblings didn't have that. And so, but I got that from my dad, and so, sadly he passed when I was young. So I think that, in roaming carelessly would be roaming with my dad as well.
I love it. What are 3 lessons you've learned along the way? You've gotten multiple concepts under your belt at this point, and I feel like it's still only just a start.
Yeah, I hope so.
But like, what are 3 lessons up to this point that you're like, these stick out the most?
Yeah, so one that I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. It's my former business partner taught a saying to me that I just think rings true to so many things, but it's pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. Like that's one of the things. Like, don't be greedy. Be happy with winning, but it doesn't have to be perfect, right? I think having patience is something that I've definitely had to work on, especially when I first, with Earls, I was kind of by myself, and I brought people on the team, and then got more team members working with us, and so patience is truly a virtue, but it's so important, right? And I think just having self-awareness is another thing that's important, because often I don't see myself as an egotistical person, even though people might perceive me that way. I don't feel to be that way, but it's important to know what other people might think of you, right? Because if it's not your intent, you want to course correct. And so I think it's important that you're kind of aware of how you are and how you're responding, because as a leader, everyone's kind of thriving off your energy. And if you're giving the wrong energy, you're going to get the wrong energy. And so that's one thing I've had to learn too, is that, people are kind of looking up to me per se, or looking at what I'm doing to decide what they're going to do. And if I'm not doing the right things, how do I expect them to?
Right.
So
what is something you love about Baton Rouge? You're born and raised here, grew up here, worked the cash register at a local restaurant, and now are a restaurateur yourself.
Man, I think it's just the I think it's the southern hospitality of Louisiana in the close families. I think we're a close knit community, and we're very diverse, and we're very cultured in terms of we got great food, we got different people from all walks of life. We've got some great assets here in the state, we're the capital, right? Which a lot of people don't realize that. You go to places, they're like, where are you from? Baton Rouge, look at New Orleans, oh yeah, we're 60 miles.
I love how our state never,
yes.
Our capital never.
That registers, yeah.
Baton Rouge, or it's oh, so you're a Tiger fan.
It's right, exactly. And I'll say LSU too. So, while it has its challenges, I think that the community, I think it has so much opportunity, and I think what makes Baton Rouge great are the people. And so that's, I've traveled places, I've been places, but I think no one compares to the people we have in our loyalty, right? Our genuine kindness to one another. And so I think that's why I've loved Baton Rouge and wanted it to succeed and, progress and prosper for years to come, because my family's here now.
Yeah, you got roots now.
Got roots, got deep roots.
Lots of
deep roots.
Here.
Yeah.
So, man, for the final question, what can I do to help you?
Man, I think just spread the word about the Colonel's Club and all the different brands that we're ReBirth Brands is representing. Man, get people out eating. COVID changed the landscape of the bar industry, particularly because people got comfortable drinking at home because they had to, and so they might not go out as much or more, or going out looks different. So I think just getting awareness of small business support and the importance of it is all we can ask for.
That's it, man. So we're gonna thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Making your
thanks for having me. Yeah. Hopefully more in the future.
Oh yeah. There's more to come. So everybody else, if you're not already a patron of the Colonel's Club, make sure you get out here and enjoy some good food. We're gonna keep eating, and yeah, come out here, check it out for yourself, and let us know your thoughts. Honest, good, bad, ugly, whatever it may be. It's all gonna be good though. Let's be real. So y'all have a good one. We'll see you next week on the Patty G Show.